What kind of sister leaves a baby in a storm? My name's Jenna Perez, a 25-year-old freelance graphic designer scraping by in Crestview, Colorado, far from the polished chaos of my family's Denver country club life. I'd moved here to escape their judgment, their coldness, and my sister Claire's endless drama, parties, bad boyfriends, and disappearing acts when life got tough. But that rainy night, the past came knocking, literally, and it wasn't letting me hide. The storm was relentless, hammering my roof like it wanted to break through, while I lounged in my faded Broncos hoodie, scrolling design gigs on my laptop. A sharp knock cut through the thunder, and I shuffled to the door, expecting a neighbor or a lost pizza guy. Instead, a soaked baby carrier sat on my porch, a tiny bundle in a pink blanket staring up with dark, steady eyes, like she was judging my messy bun and coffee-stained sweatpants. My heart stopped. "Hello?" I shouted into the rain, but only the screech of tires answered, fading down the street. A soggy note flapped in the carrier, Claire's jagged handwriting unmistakable. "I can't do this. She's yours now, Jenna." My sister, the whirlwind who'd always left messes for me to clean, had outdone herself. Growing up, our parents cared more about their socialite image than us. Claire was the rebel. I was the quiet one sketching in my room, trying to stay invisible. I'd fled to Crestview to escape their suffocating expectations and Claire's chaos, but now her baby was here, left like a stray dog. I brought the carrier inside, my tiny living room shrinking under the weight of it all. The baby didn't cry, which unnerved me more than screaming would have. She just watched, like she knew I was drowning already. "Okay, Jenna, think," I muttered, pacing past my cluttered desk and wilting houseplants. I hadn't known Claire was pregnant. She hadn't called in months, probably lost in another spiral of bad choices. Call the police, our parents? My stomach twisted at the thought of them. They disowned Claire when her addiction got bad, and I was always the disappointment for choosing art over their high society world. Still, I dialed Mom, my fingers clumsy. Her voice sliced through the line, sharp as ever. "Do you know how late it is?" "Mom?" "Claire left her baby on my doorstep. There's just a note. I don't know what to do." Silence then. "Well, Jenna, she's your responsibility now." "What? Mom, I can't. Your sister made her choice," she snapped. "We can't have this scandal getting out. Handle it quietly." "Put Dad on. He's asleep. Don't raise your voice at me, Jenna. Be discreet." Click. The line died. I stared at the phone, then at the baby, who let out a tiny snuffle, like she was reminding me she existed. "Just us, huh?" I said, my voice shaking. At 25, I was barely keeping my freelance gigs afloat, and now I had a kid. Panic clawed at me, but those big, trusting eyes kept me moving. I found a YouTube video on newborn care, grabbed my keys, and raced to the 24-hour pharmacy for diapers and formula, leaving her alone for 12 agonizing minutes. I kept imagining her waking up, crying, with no one there. Back home, she was still asleep, and I sank to the floor, trembling, whispering, "We'll figure this out, I promise." The next morning, I called in sick to my part-time retail job, but my boss wasn't having it. "Family emergency doesn't cut it after probation," she barked. A week later, I was fired, my savings shrinking as I bought bottles, clothes, and a second-hand crib. The only paperwork was a half-filled birth certificate application listing December 21st as her birthday, winter solstice. A flicker of hope in the dark. So I named her Leah, my little light. During a midnight feeding that first week, I looked into her eyes and whispered, "I have no clue what I'm doing, but we'll get through this together." I didn't know it then, but that promise would shape everything. Every sleepless night, every small victory, every moment of a life I never planned but couldn't imagine without. The rain kept falling outside, but inside, something was shifting. Like the first brushstroke on a blank canvas, hinting at a story I'd have to fight to write. Those first weeks blurred into a haze of exhaustion and tiny miracles. Each day a battle I hadn't signed up for but couldn't walk away from. Leah's eyes, so dark and knowing, became my anchor, pulling me through the fog of doubt that threatened to swallow me whole. I'd cradle her during those endless nights, the storm long gone, but its echo lingering in the way my life had been upended. My freelance gigs suffered. Deadlines slipped as I juggled feedings and diaper changes, my laptop gathering dust on the coffee table while I learned the art of one-handed typing. The house felt alive in a new way. filled with the soft gurgles and occasional cries that pierced the quiet like alarms I couldn't ignore. I scavenged tips from online forums, piecing together a routine from strangers' advice. Burp after every ounce, swaddle tight but not too tight, watch for wet diapers like they were clues in a mystery I had to solve. One night, she spiked a fever, her little body hot against mine, and I panicked, rushing to the emergency room in my pajamas, tears streaming as the doctor assured me it was just a virus, nothing serious. "First time mom jitters," he said with a kind smile. But I wasn't just a mom, I was her everything, thrust into the role without a script. My savings dipped dangerously low, formula and onesies eating away at what little buffer I had. I tried to keep up with my retail job, showing up bleary-eyed and distracted, but after calling in sick too many times, the axe fell. "We need reliability, Jenna," my boss said over the phone, her tone final. Unemployment hit like a fresh wave of rain, forcing me to hustle harder on freelance work, designing logos and flyers late into the night while Leah slept in her crib beside my desk. I added new touches to our home to make it feel warmer. A mobile of colorful paper stars I crafted from old sketchbooks, dangling above her to catch the light. But money worries gnawed at me. I skipped meals to stretch the budget, telling myself it was temporary, that I'd find a way. Friends from college checked in sporadically, but none were close enough to help with the daily grind. Christopher, my lawyer buddy, sent a care package of baby books and a stuffed bear, his note saying, "You've got this, Jen. Call if you need backup." I didn't call, too proud or too scared to admit how close I was to breaking. Yet, amid the chaos, moments of pure joy snuck in, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Leah's first smile, gummy and wide, hit me during a bath time splash fest, her laughter bubbling up as I made silly faces. I captured it on my phone, the photo becoming my wallpaper. A reminder that this wasn't just survival, it was building something real. I started a journal, scribbling notes about her milestones. First coo, first grasp of my finger, the way she calmed when I hummed old lullabies from our Denver childhood, tunes Claire and I used to sing before everything soured. Thinking of Claire brought a mix of anger and pity. She'd vanished again, no calls, no checks in the mail like she'd promised in a fleeting voicemail. "Just take her for a bit, Jen. I'll sort myself out." Her voice had slurred, but months passed without a word. Our parents were ghosts too, their discreet handling meaning total silence, as if Leah didn't exist in their perfect world. I toyed with reaching out again, but pride stopped me. Why beg for scraps from people who'd never given freely? Instead, I leaned into the community around me. The local library had a moms group, where I met other single parents sharing tips on cheap meals and hand-me-downs. One woman, Mara from down the street, became a lifeline, dropping off casseroles and offering to babysit so I could snag a nap. "You've got a fighter there," she said, watching Leah kick her legs during tummy time. Mara had seen the car speed away that night, though I didn't know it yet. Her porch light had caught the scene, a silent witness to the abandonment. Those connections kept me afloat, turning isolation into a fragile network. Financially, I pivoted, taking on kid-friendly designs like nursery murals for local families, blending my art with motherhood in ways that felt right. Leah's birthday on the solstice became our first tradition, a simple cake I baked from a box mix, candles flickering as I sang softly, promising her a life brighter than the one I'd known. But doubts lingered. What if Claire came back? What if I couldn't provide enough? Those questions haunted my quieter moments, foreshadowing storms I couldn't yet see. But for now, I focused on the present, on her tiny hand in mine, vowing to be the stability she'd been denied. As the months turned into a year, Leah grew stronger, her personality emerging like colors on a palette, curious, resilient, with a laugh that could melt the hardest day. I upgraded our routines, turning the living room into a play area with thrift store toys and my own doodles on the walls, sketches of animals and stars that made her eyes light up. Freelance picked up slowly. A steady client for book covers gave me breathing room, enough to afford a pediatrician visit where the doctor praised her development. "She's thriving," he said, and those words were gold, easing the knot in my chest. Still, the weight of it all pressed on, especially on nights when bills piled up and loneliness crept in. I'd rock her to sleep, whispering stories of imaginary adventures, weaving in bits of my dreams deferred. The Denver art scene I'd left behind, now replaced by this fierce love that redefined me. Little did I know, this foundation we were building would be tested in ways that would demand every ounce of strength I'd gathered, pulling old wounds wide open. 10 years flew by like a whirlwind of sippy cups, school plays, and late-night design deadlines. Leah, now going by Aaliyah, a name she picked herself at age 5 because it sounded like a superhero, grew from that silent bundle into a spitfire of a kid, with gangly legs, paint-splattered hands, and a laugh that could light up our tiny Crestview house. I traded my Denver dreams for this small-town life, freelancing from my cluttered home office so I could be there for her first steps, her first words, her first soccer goal. Every crayon drawing on the fridge, every bedtime story on our sagging couch felt like a victory. I wasn't just raising Aaliyah, she was saving me, giving me purpose I'd never found in my parents' world of polished surfaces and empty promises. Our days settled into a rhythm that felt earned, like a well-worn sketchbook filled with imperfect but beautiful pages. Mornings started with chaotic breakfasts, oatmeal smeared on the table, Aaliyah chattering about her latest dream while I sipped coffee, juggling emails from clients. Afternoons were for soccer practice or art sessions in the backyard, where she'd mix colors with wild abandon, creating masterpieces that ended up framed on our walls. Evenings wound down with homework help and stories, her head on my shoulder as I read about far-off adventures, secretly weaving in lessons from our own rocky start. Freelancing evolved too. I specialized in family branding, logos for local businesses, invitations for birthdays, even murals for the community center where Aaliyah took her painting classes. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and let me work around her schedule, turning our home into a creative hub. The house itself transformed over the years. What was once a bare rental became ours, with hand-painted accents on the doors and a garden we planted together, tomatoes ripening under the Colorado sun. Aaliyah's room burst with personality, posters of soccer stars, shelves of half-finished crafts, and a corkboard pinned with notes like, "Mom's the best goalie ever," from her games. I joined the PTA reluctantly at first, but it connected us deeper to Crestview, with playdates at Mia's house becoming weekly staples. Mia, Aaliyah's best friend since kindergarten, was like a bonus kid, their giggles filling the air during sleepovers where they'd plot world domination with crayons and cookies. Those bonds grounded me, reminding me that family extended beyond blood, into the neighbors who'd become our chosen support system. Mara especially evolved from occasional helper to honorary aunt, sharing holidays with us when my own family remained distant ghosts. But not everything was smooth. There were bumps that tested our foundation. Aaliyah's questions about her origins started around age 7, prompted by a school family tree project. "Why don't I have a dad like Mia?" she'd ask, her brow furrowed in that serious way that mirrored my own worries. I'd sit her down, age-appropriate truth in hand. "Your bio mom, my sister Claire, wasn't ready, so she gave you to me, the best gift ever." We'd flip through the baby album I'd meticulously kept, photos of her firsts mixed with my sketches of our life, turning potential pain into stories of strength. Health scares cropped up too. A sprained ankle from soccer that had me rushing to the ER, echoing that first fever night, or the time she caught the flu and I worked from her bedside, laptop balanced on my knees. Financially, we teetered sometimes. A slow month meant ramen dinners and skipped luxuries, but I shielded her from it, turning budget crafts into adventure nights. Through it all, Aaliyah's resilience shone, her straight A's and team spirit proving she was thriving, not just surviving. She took up painting seriously, her canvases reflecting our world, stormy skies giving way to rainbows, figures holding hands against the wind. "This is us, Mom," she'd say, pointing to a duo in the center, and my heart would swell, knowing we'd painted this life together. Claire and my parents stayed shadows, their absence a quiet ache I buried under daily joys. Occasional voicemails from Claire, slurred apologies or vague promises, went unanswered, filed away in that locked drawer as insurance against whatever might come. My parents sent a card once, on Aaliyah's 5th birthday, with a crisp $50 bill and a note, "For the child," discreetly. I tore it up, using the money for art supplies instead, vowing she'd never feel like a secret. Christopher checked in yearly, his legal mind spotting no threats, but I sensed undercurrents, like distant thunder on a clear day. Aaliyah's soccer games became my highlight, cheering from the sidelines as she dashed across the field, her ponytail flying, dreaming of being a goalie like her idols. After wins, we'd celebrate with ice cream, chocolate for her, mint for me, talking about everything from school crushes to future plans. "I want to be an artist like you, Mom, but also a detective," she'd declare, her imagination boundless. Those conversations healed old wounds, replacing my family's coldness with warmth I'd built from scratch. As she approached 10, Aaliyah's independence grew, sleepovers at Mia's testing my empty nest previews, but it also freed time for my own pursuits. A local art show where I sold a few pieces, reigniting sparks of the Denver dreams I'd shelved. Our bond deepened in subtler ways. Shared inside jokes, matching bracelets we made from beads, and quiet evenings where she'd sketch beside me, our pencils syncing in harmony. Purpose bloomed in unexpected places. Volunteering at her school art program, I found fulfillment mentoring kids like her, turning my bohemian life into something impactful. Yet, a nagging foreshadow lingered. What if the past resurfaced? I pushed it down, focusing on the present, on her laugh echoing through the house, a sound that chased away doubts. Little did I know that stability was about to be shattered, forcing me to defend the world we'd created with every tool I had. One afternoon, as I was tweaking a logo for a client, a sharp knock rattled my door. Aaliyah was at her friend Mia's for a sleepover, and I wasn't expecting anyone. Something about that knock, too loud, too man, made my gut twist. I opened the door, and it was like stepping into a bad dream. There stood Claire, my sister, looking like she'd walked out of a magazine. Designer coat, flawless makeup, not a hair out of place. Flanking her were our parents, Mom's face set in that familiar scowl, Dad staring at his shoes. Behind them, a guy in a slick suit clutched a briefcase like a weapon. "Hey, Jenna," Claire said, her smile all teeth, no warmth. "We need to talk about my daughter." The world spun. I gripped the doorframe, my voice steadier than I felt. "Your daughter? You mean the one you left on my porch in a storm 10 years ago?" Claire's eyes glistened with tears that looked practiced. "I was sick then, Jenna. I've changed. I'm sober, successful. I want her back." The suit stepped forward. "Miss Perez, I'm Richard Langston, attorney. We're here to discuss custody arrangements for Aaliyah." Custody. The word hit like a punch. But beneath the shock, something fiercer was rising. A mama bear instinct honed over a decade of love. "You're not coming in," I said, blocking the doorway. "And you're not discussing custody of my daughter." "Our daughter," Claire corrected, her voice syrupy. "Let's be civil, Jenna." "Civil?" I laughed, bitter. "Like abandoning a newborn in the rain is civil." Mom stepped forward, her pearl necklace gleaming. "Jenna, stop being dramatic. Your sister's trying to make things right." "After 10 years? Try again." I pulled out my phone and dialed Christopher Caldwell, my best friend from college and a damn good lawyer. His blue pickup rolled into my driveway minutes later, and he strode up, all calm confidence. "Perfect timing," Langston said, his smile tight. "I was about to present custody filing papers." "Then present them to me," Christopher said, stepping beside me. "I'm Miss Perez's attorney." "You knew this was coming," Dad muttered, finally looking up. "No," I snapped. "I just learned not to trust any of you." We ended up in my living room, Christopher insisting it looked cooperative. He sat beside me on the couch while Claire, my parents, and Langston perched on chairs, usually covered in Aaliyah's art supplies. Langston spread papers across my coffee table. "My client has been sober for 3 years, has a stable home, and a thriving career. She's ready to parent." "Sober." I stared at Claire. "You were using when you had her." Claire dabbed her eyes with a fancy handkerchief. "I was in a dark place, but I'm better now. I can give Aaliyah everything she deserves." "Everything she deserves." My voice shook. "She deserves a mom who didn't ditch her. She deserves grandparents who didn't call her a scandal. She's got straight A's, plays soccer, loves painting. Did you know any of that?" "No, because you've been gone her whole life." "We tried to be involved," Mom cut in. "You pushed us away." Christopher raised a hand. "Let's stick to facts. You're claiming Jenna alienated Aaliyah from her family. That's a vague accusation." "We have proof," Langston said, pulling out more papers. "Refused calls, ignored invitations." "Funny," I said, standing. I walked to my desk, unlocked a drawer, and pulled out a folder thick with 10 years of proof. Voicemails, texts, emails. I've got evidence too. Every time you ignored her, every time you called her a problem. Claire's face flickered with something. Fear, maybe. What are those? Insurance, I said, against exactly this. Christopher scanned Langston's papers. They're requesting full custody, Jenna, with supervised visits for you. Like hell, I said, my voice low. Get out, all of you. Christopher handles this now. You can't keep her from me. Claire stood, her polished mask cracking. She's my blood. Blood. I pointed to Aaliyah's paintings on the wall. Where was blood when she had a fever at 2 and I stayed up all night? Where was it for every scraped knee, every school play? You don't get to waltz in now. Langston smirked. We're prepared to go public. The press loves a mom fighting for her stolen child. Stolen? I felt something snap. I've got the note, Claire. Want me to show it to the press? Mom grabbed Claire's arm, steering her out. This isn't over, Jenna. You've always been selfish. They left, Langston's briefcase swinging like a threat. Christopher stayed, his face grim. They're playing dirty. You ready for this? I pulled out a USB drive. Years of documented neglect inside. They have no idea how ready I am. The confrontation lingered like a storm cloud, replaying in my mind as I tidied the living room, wiping away the invisible traces of their presence. Aaliyah's art stared back at me, vibrant and innocent, a stark contrast to the greed I'd just faced. I texted Mia's mom to check on her, needing to hear she was safe, laughing, untouched by this mess. Christopher paced, outlining next steps. Subpoenas, depositions, a fight that would drain my energy but protect our life. Why now? I whispered, sinking onto the couch. He shrugged. People change or pretend to when it suits them. But I knew it was more. A hunch gnawed at me, hinting at motives beyond redemption. That night, sleep evaded me, visions of losing her flashing like lightning. Yet resolve hardened. I'd built this family, and no one would tear it down without a war. The following days blurred with preparations, Christopher's office becoming a second home as we pored over strategies. I confided in Mara over coffee, her outrage matching mine. They don't deserve her after what they did. Her words fueled me, reminding me of the community we'd woven, stronger than blood ties. Aaliyah sensed the shift when she returned, her hug tighter, questions bubbling. Why do you look worried, Mom? I brushed it off with a smile, but inside the tension built, a prelude to revelations that would expose the rot in my family's facade. The next few weeks were a blur of late nights and whispered fears. I'd tuck Aaliyah into bed, her galaxy pajamas glowing under the lamp, and she'd ask, Mom, is everything okay? I'd smile, brush her hair back, and say, I'm handling it, kiddo. But inside, I was terrified. Claire and my parents weren't just fighting for Aaliyah. They were fighting for a trust fund my grandma had left for Claire's firstborn. A fortune they could control only if Aaliyah was in their custody. $2 million accessible when she turned 18, unless they got her now and played trustees. It wasn't about love. It was about money. Christopher set up shop in his cozy Crestview office, papers and coffee cups piling up. Marcus Tate, the private investigator he'd brought in, was a lifesaver, a gruff guy who ditched Denver's corporate scene to dig up truths. Your sister's been busy, Marcus said one morning, dropping a stack of photos on Christopher's desk. They showed Claire at fancy Denver galas, yacht parties, and exclusive clubs, timestamps spanning all 10 years I'd been raising Aaliyah. She didn't look sick or struggling, just carefree, unburdened by the daughter she'd left behind. There's more, Marcus said, sliding a legal document across the table. My grandma's will. The clause was clear. The trust fund went to Claire's child, raised within the Bennett family. If I kept Aaliyah, they got nothing. If they got custody, they could manage the funds. My hands shook. So this is why it gets better. Marcus nodded. Found Derek Voss. He's willing to talk. Says he's fed up with her and your parents' schemes. Set it up, I said. I want everything. The revelation hit like another storm, but this time I had allies to weather it. Christopher dove into the legal angles, drafting motions to counter their claims, while Marcus's network uncovered layers I'd never imagined. Emails from Claire to financial advisors, dating back years, hinted at her attempts to tap the fund early, blocked because Aaliyah wasn't in her care. One message read, Once I get the kids situated, we can proceed. Situated, like Aaliyah was a pawn, not a person. I paced the office, fury mixing with the coffee's bitterness, vowing to turn their greed against them. That night, Aliyah came home from Mia's, her face serious. "Mom, Mia's mom said something weird when she dropped me off." My heart froze. "What did she say?" "She asked if I was okay, if I needed to talk about my real mom." Aliyah's lip trembled. "You're my real mom, right?" I pulled her into a hug, breathing in her strawberry shampoo. "Always, baby, no matter what anyone says." "How do you know about Claire?" I asked, pulling back. "I heard Grandma on the phone once. She said you stole me." Her eyes filled with tears. "That's not true, right?" "No, you were given to me. The best gift I ever got." I wiped her tears. "Some people are trying to make trouble, but I'm fixing it." She nodded, then pulled a drawing from her backpack. A picture of us holding hands, surrounded by a heart. "Best mom ever," it read in her careful script. "It's for the fridge," she said, and I pinned it up, my throat tight. The innocence in her art contrasted sharply with the ugliness unfolding, stealing my resolve to shield her from more pain. The next day I met Derek at a coffee shop outside Crestview. Marcus was there, recorder hidden. Derek, a polished guy in his 30s, looked nervous, fidgeting with his cup. "Claire doesn't know I'm here," he said. "This custody thing, it wasn't her idea. Your parents pushed it after they found the trust fund clause. Offered to pay for our wedding if she went along." I leaned forward. "They said it was about family." He laughed, bitter. "It's about money. Always is with them. They're painting you as unstable, saying you took advantage of Claire's addiction to steal Aliyah." "Addiction?" My voice hardened. "Was she using when she was pregnant?" "Yeah," he admitted. "She got clean 3 years ago when we met, but this trust fund, $2 million, they want it bad." My phone buzzed, a text from Aliyah. "Mom, can you come get me?" She was at my parents' for a court-mandated visit. "I gotta go," I said. "Will you testify?" Derek nodded. "Aliyah deserves better than being their pawn." I sped to my parents' Denver mansion, my heart pounding. Aliyah was on the front steps, hugging her knees. "What happened?" I asked, rushing up. "I found something," she whispered. Inside, I heard Mom yelling, probably at Claire. Aliyah pulled a photo from her backpack. My parents, Claire, and relatives at a fancy Christmas party, all smiling. No sign of her. "There's no pictures of me in their house," she said. And Claire kept calling me sweetheart, but she didn't know I hate vanilla ice cream. You'd think a real mom would know. I knelt in front of her. "Listen, sometimes the people who should love us don't know how. That's on them, not you." Back home, our neighbor Mara Evans knocked, her face set. "I saw Claire on the news claiming you stole her kid." "I was there that night, Jenna. I saw her leave that baby on your porch and drive off in her fancy car. Didn't even check if you were home." My heart raced. "You'd tell a court that?" "Already called Christopher. I'm meeting him tomorrow." She squeezed my hand. "Aliyah belongs with you." Later, Marcus sent more evidence, photos of Claire meeting private school heads and financial advisors, planning Aliyah's future with money she didn't have. Then Gloria Ruiz, my parents' former housekeeper, showed up with photos of their custody plan, drafted months before they came to my door. "They fired me for seeing too much," she said. "They called you a pretend mom. I won't let them do this." I looked at Aliyah's drawing on the fridge, our stick figure hands joined. "They wanted to paint me as the villain." Fine, I'd show them what a real villain looked like. The pieces were falling into place, each one a weapon in the arsenal we were building. But the emotional toll mounted. Nights filled with what-ifs that kept sleep at bay. I drove back from Denver with Aliyah beside me, her small hands clutching the backpack that held the damning Christmas photo. The silence in the car wasn't heavy, but it was loaded, like we were both processing the weight of her discovery. No pictures of her in their perfect mansion, no trace of her existence in their world. I glanced at her, her face half lit by passing streetlights, and saw that serious look she got before a big soccer game. "Mom," she said softly, "why don't they want me?" My grip tightened on the wheel, the question slicing through me like a cold wind. "It's not about you, kiddo," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Some people only see what they want to gain, not what they already have." She nodded, but her eyes stayed distant, and I knew this wasn't over. Not for her heart, not for our fight. Back home, I tucked her in, her galaxy pajamas a familiar comfort, and promised we'd bake cookies tomorrow, something normal to anchor us. But as she drifted off, I sat on the edge of her bed, watching her sleep, the ache of her question echoing. I'd spent a decade shielding her from my family's rejection, but now it was seeping through the cracks. The next morning, I met Christopher and Marcus at the coffee shop, the air thick with the scent of espresso and determination. Marcus slid a folder across the table, his gruff voice low. Claire's been meeting with private school heads, pitching Aliyah as their future star pupil, before they even filed for custody. Photos showed her shaking hands with suited administrators, her smile as polished as her lies. Another document detailed her inquiries to financial advisors about managing a minor's trust, dated months back. My stomach churned. They were planning this, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Christopher nodded, flipping through the evidence. It's premeditated. We've got a paper trail that screams intent. Marcus leaned in. Gloria Ruiz dropped off more last night. Internal memos from your dad's office outlining how they'd spin you as unfit to sway a judge. Gloria, their old housekeeper, had become an unexpected ally, her loyalty to truth outweighing years of my parents' intimidation. Her photos of their custody plan, scribbled with notes about reclaiming family honor, burned in my chest. They'd called me a pretend mom, as if a decade of love could be erased. I leaned back, the folder's weight grounding me. What's next? Christopher outlined the strategy: depositions from Mara and Gloria, Derek's testimony, and a motion to expose the trust fund motive. We hit them with everything, he said, but you need to prep Aliyah for court. She might have to speak. The thought of her in a courtroom, facing Claire's crocodile tears, made my skin crawl. I nodded, though, knowing we had no choice. Back home, I sat Aliyah down after school, her paint-splattered jeans a reminder of the life we'd built. Kiddo, we need to talk about what's happening. I kept it simple, explaining the custody fight without mentioning the money. She didn't need that ugliness yet. Her eyes widened, but she squared her shoulders. They can't take me, right? I told Mia's mom you're my real mom. I hugged her tight, her strawberry shampoo grounding me. No one's taking you. We're a team. She pulled out another drawing, this one of us in soccer uniforms, kicking a ball labeled Trouble away. For the fridge, she grinned, and I pinned it up, her defiance fueling mine. Later, Mara stopped by with a casserole and news. She'd given her statement to Christopher, detailing the night Claire abandoned Aliyah. I saw her car, Jenna. Fancy, red, didn't even slow down. I was worried you weren't home. Her words were a lifeline, tying that rainy night to our present fight. I thanked her, my voice thick, and she squeezed my hand. You're her mom. Everyone here knows it. That community support, Mara, Gloria, even Mia's mom, wove a net around us, stronger than my family's schemes. But Aliyah's questions kept coming. At dinner, she pushed her peas around and asked, "Did Claire ever love me?" I paused, fork midair, searching for truth without pain. I think she wanted to, but she didn't know how. That's why she gave you to me, so you'd have someone who could. She nodded, accepting it, but I saw the hurt linger, a shadow I couldn't erase. The next day, I met Derek again, this time at a park to avoid prying eyes. He looked more haggard, his polished veneer cracking. "Claire's spiraling," he said, glancing over his shoulder. "She knows I talked. Your parents are doubling down, offering me a cut of the trust if I stay quiet." My blood boiled. "You're still here." He shrugged. I saw Aliyah's picture in Claire's wallet. First time she's carried it. Felt wrong, using her like that. He handed over texts from Claire, admitting the custody push was for the money, not the kid. I passed them to Marcus, who added them to our growing arsenal. As I drove home, Aliyah texted from Mia's, "Can we paint tonight? I made something for court." Her resilience, her art, her trust, it all sharpened my focus. I looked at the fridge, now a gallery of her strength, and knew we were ready for the storm ahead. The fight wasn't just for custody. It was for her right to a life free of their greed, and I'd tear down their lies to give her that. The courtroom in Crestviews County Courthouse felt like a cage, all polished wood and stiff air. I stood beside Christopher, my hands sweaty, watching Claire, my parents, and their lawyer, Langston, file in like they owned the place. Claire wore a modest dress, playing the repentant mom. My parents sat ramrod straight, oozing respectability. But I wasn't the scared 25-year-old they'd left to clean up their mess 10 years ago. I was Aliyah's mom, and I had a decade of love and evidence to back me up. "All rise," the bailiff called. The Honorable Judge Helen Carter presiding. My heart skipped. Carter was the judge Marcus caught having lunch with Claire. But when she took the bench, her eyes were sharp, not bought. "Before we proceed," she said, her voice cutting through the room, "I need to address an issue. Mr. Langston, were you aware your client met with me last week?" Langston paled. "Your Honor, Save it." She held up photos, Marcus's photos. "These were sent to the ethics board yesterday, along with financial records. We'll deal with that later. Now, let's see the evidence in this case." Christopher stood, calm but fierce. "Your Honor, we have documentation spanning 10 years since my client became Elia's primary caregiver." He started with Claire's note. "I can't do this." "She's yours now, Jenna." Then voicemails from that first month. Claire's voice crackled through the courtroom. "Just take her for a month, Jenna. I'll send money, I swear." Another, "You're better at this than me. She's better off with you." My mom's text came next. "Keep this quiet. We have a charity gala." My dad's, "Handle it discreetly." With each piece, their faces drained of color. Christopher called Gloria Ruiz, the housekeeper. She stood tall, describing the documents she'd found in my dad's study. Plans to seize Aaliyah for the trust fund. "Mrs. Bennett said Jenna's had her fun playing mommy," Gloria said. "They wanted Aaliyah to be a proper Bennett." Mara Evans took the stand next, her voice steady. "I saw Claire leave that baby on Jenna's porch in the rain. Didn't knock, didn't wait, just drove off." Langston stood. "Objection. This is character assassination." "No," I said, standing despite Christopher's warning glance. "This is the truth." Judge Carter nodded. "Continue, Ms. Perez." I pulled out my phone, playing a recording from Derek, captured by Marcus. "Once we get the kid, we access the trust fund, pay my debts. Who cares if she stays with her aunt?" The courtroom gasped. Claire's mascara streaked as she whispered to Langston. My mom looked like she'd been slapped. My dad stared at the floor. "Your Honor," Christopher said, "we have evidence of Claire's gambling debts, unpaid loans, and attempts to access the trust fund before this suit. This is a scheme to exploit a child's inheritance." "That's not true." Claire stood, tears streaming. "I love my daughter. I've changed." I faced her, my voice breaking but steady. "What's her favorite color? What's she allergic to? What sport does she play? Who's her best friend?" Claire's mouth opened, then closed fish-like. "Purple," I said, tears burning my eyes. "She's allergic to strawberries. She plays soccer, dreams of being a goalie. Her best friend's Mia since kindergarten. She loves painting but hates loud noises. You'd know that if you'd been here." Judge Carter said softly, "I've heard enough." She shuffled her papers, then fixed my family with a look that could crack stone. "In 30 years, I've rarely seen such a shameless attempt to manipulate a child and this court. The custody suit is dismissed with prejudice. I'm ordering an investigation into the trust fund scheme. Mr. Langston, contact the Bar Association before they contact you, and you." She turned to my family. "I'm issuing a temporary restraining order. No contact with Jenna or Aaliyah without legal channels." Relief flooded me, but I stayed still, spine straight. My mom stood. "You can't do this. We're her family." "No," I said quietly. "You're just people who share our DNA. There's a difference." The gavel struck. Court adjourned. In the hallway, Claire tried one last time. "Jenna, please. I'm your sister. You stopped being my sister the night you left Aaliyah in the rain." I turned away, Christopher guiding me out. On the courthouse steps, I took a deep breath, the Colorado air crisp and free. "It's over," Christopher said. "No," I replied, thinking of Aaliyah waiting at home, probably doodling to calm her nerves. "It's just beginning, but this time, we're writing the story." The victory echoed through the rest of the day, a weight lifting as I drove home, replaying the judge's words like a mantra. Aaliyah deserved this win, not just for custody but for validation, that our life wasn't a placeholder. Christopher followed up with calls. The ethics board was fast-tracking the investigation into Judge Carter's lunch. Langston was stepping down, and the trust fund would be frozen under independent oversight. My family's facade was cracking, headlines already buzzing about the exposed plot. But amid the triumph, a quiet sadness lingered. For the sister I'd once idolized, now reduced to schemes. For parents who'd chosen money over mercy. I pushed it aside, focusing on the road ahead, on the home waiting with its fridge gallery and sagging couch. Aaliyah was waiting on the porch when I pulled into the driveway, Mia and her mom, Carla, beside her. Before I could park, Aaliyah sprinted to the car, her eyes wide. "Did we win? Is it really over?" I hugged her tight, her warmth grounding me like an anchor in turbulent waters. It's over, baby. They can't take you away. Carla wiped her eyes, smiling. We've got celebration cookies in the oven. Chocolate chip, Aaliyah's specialty. Inside, the kitchen smelled like sugar and victory, the oven's hum mixing with the girls' chatter as they sneaked dough when they thought I wasn't looking. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Denver custody case exposes trust fund plot. My parents' perfect reputation was crumbling. Socialites didn't recover easily from headlines like that. Christopher called with updates. The ethics board was digging into Claire's lunch with Judge Carter. Langston had quit his firm, and the trust fund was being locked down with an independent trustee. Your parents are selling their Denver place, he added, moving to Florida. Running, I corrected. It's what they do. A crash from the kitchen snapped me back. Aaliyah stood by a broken glass, her phone in hand, face pale. What's wrong? I asked, rushing over. She handed me the phone, a text from Claire. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but you deserve to hear it. Do you want to reply? I asked. Aaliyah shook her head, grabbing a broom. She's right. It doesn't fix anything. That night, after Mia and Carla left, Aaliyah sat at the kitchen table, her face serious, the same look she got before a big soccer game. Mom, I want to ask something. Anything, I said, sitting across from her. She pulled a folder from her backpack, legal forms printed at school. I want to change my name legally. I don't want to be a Bennett. I want to be Leah Perez, like you. My heart stopped. That's a big decision, kiddo. I've been thinking about it for months, even before they showed up. You chose me. I want to choose you back, all the way. I looked at the forms, remembering all the times I'd wanted to adopt her but held back, worried about crossing some invisible line. You sure? More sure than I've ever been, she grinned. Plus it'll really bug Grandma. I laughed, tears spilling. That's not a reason to do it. No, but it's a fun bonus. We filled out the paperwork together, talking about her latest art project, how Mia wanted to join the soccer team, her plans for the school talent show. Hey Mom, she said as I tucked her into bed. Thanks for fighting for me. Always, baby, no matter what. I know, she yawned. That's why you're my real mom. You stayed. After she slept, I sat in our living room, flipping through old photos. Alea's first goal, her first painting, her first wobbly bike ride, every moment we'd built together, every choice we'd made. My phone lit up with another text from Claire. I know you'll never forgive me, but thank you for giving her what I couldn't. I thought about replying, about telling her what she'd lost, but I blocked her number instead. Words didn't fix a decade of absence. That I opened my laptop, pulling up the adoption petition I'd started weeks ago. Now that the custody fight was done, now that Aaliyah had chosen her name, it was time to make it official. A soft creak made me look up. Aaliyah stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. Can't sleep? She shook her head and curled up beside me. What's that? I showed her the screen. Her eyes widened. Really? You want to adopt me? Only if you want it. But yeah, I want to make it official in every way. She threw her arms around me. When can we do it? We'll talk to Christopher tomorrow. Start the process. Good, she said, already drifting off, because I've known since I was little. You're my mom. The universe got it right the first time. I held her close, thinking about that rainy night, the courtroom, the love we'd chosen over and over. Family isn't always born. It's made, fought for, chosen every day. And we'd chosen each other through every storm, every fear, every victory. To everyone who followed this journey, thank you. You've walked with me through panic, fights, and the kind of love that holds you together when the world tries to tear you apart. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and join us where every moment, every choice tells a story of heart, home, and never giving up. Keep building your own family, whatever it looks like. The days that followed settled into a gentle rhythm, the echoes of the battle fading like distant thunder. Aaliyah's name change paperwork sailed through with Christopher's help, her new ID arriving like a badge of our unbreakable bond. We celebrated with a backyard picnic, Mara and Carla joining, laughter mingling with the scent of grilled burgers and fresh-cut grass. I framed the adoption certificate beside her drawings on the fridge, a testament to the family we'd forged. Nights grew quieter, filled with shared sketches and soccer recaps, her confidence blooming in ways that healed us both. The trust fund, now safely managed for her future, became a distant afterthought, a reminder that love triumphs over greed. And as we moved forward, hand in hand, I whispered to the stars, grateful for the light she'd brought into my world. As the sun dipped lower on those quiet evenings in Crestview, casting long shadows across our modest home, I found myself lingering in the moments that once rushed by, in a blur of survival and strife. Aaliyah, now officially Leah Perez, would curl up on the sagging couch with her sketch pad, her strokes deliberate and full of the dreams she'd nurtured through it all, while I watched from the kitchen, stirring tea that steamed gently into the air like a sigh of relief. The weight of the past, with its sharp edges of betrayal and uncertainty, softened over time, becoming less a burden and more a distant memory, one we rarely spoke of, but carried with a quiet strength. We'd wander the backyard garden we'd planted years ago, her fingers brushing the blooming flowers as she shared stories from school, her voice light and untroubled, a melody that wrapped around my heart like the warmest blanket. Neighbors like Mara stopped by with homemade pies, their visits a gentle reminder that our circle had grown, woven from threads of kindness rather than obligation. Christopher's occasional calls brought updates on the fading scandals, the mansion sold, Claire's silence enduring, but they felt like pages from an old book, closed and set aside. Instead, we focused on the simple joys. Soccer games under clear skies, art shows where her paintings drew admiring crowds, and bedtime whispers where she'd say, "Mom, we're unbreakable." In those extended breaths between days, I marveled at how far we'd come, from that stormy abandonment to this serene haven, where love wasn't fought for but simply lived. And as night fell, with stars peeking through the curtains, I'd hold her close, the world outside hushed, knowing that in choosing each other, we'd found our forever home, a soft, enduring whisper of peace.